Hey guys, today I want to talk about bringing your kids to the Philippines. Now, a lot of people in Western countries, they take their children here. They have kids that are older or even younger in some cases because they're married to a Filipina, or maybe they're married to an American. They want to take their kids here, or a Westerner they're married to, and they want to come to the Philippines and they want to bring their children. Now, here's the thing. Education over here is not the same as back in the U.S. Now, some of their things like nursing, things like that are excellent in college. But in the regular public schools, even in some of the schools that are private schools, they don't equal up to our schools in the United States. Even though our United States schools are not the best, if you compared between the two, I would say the United States schools are still ahead in most locations. I mean, the United States has locations where some places where the education is just very faulty. I would say like down south in some of the states down south, places like that, I would say that maybe the Philippine education system is probably a little bit better. Now, I come from the education field. I was a school safety officer and I worked in schools. Now, the problem is this. You bring a child over here and that child gets older and wants to work over here or something, and they start working over here and they become part of the system and they don't want to go back. They're going to suffer over here greatly because of the amount of money, the sheer amount of money that they're missing from their work. Because in the U.S., I mean, look at the minimum wage is like, what, $15 an hour or something like that in many states already. I believe it. I'm not sure if that's the national wage. I know in some states, I think it's not. It hasn't reached that level yet. But they were talking about doing like a national minimum wage back there, $15 an hour, and McDonald's and stuff is having a hard time getting people even at these higher wages because a lot of people are collecting unemployment. People are figuring out the system and they're just trying to, bring the system down, it seems like, because everybody wants to be on it. Actually, truck drivers, there's a shortage of truck drivers, there's a shortage of longshoremen, there's a shortage of everything in the United States lately, it seems like. Nobody wants to work. Restaurant workers are hard to find. Some restaurants are going out of business. So the wages go up. Now, here in the Philippines, they pay somebody $7, $8 a day at a fast food place. People are running for the door, trying to get in the door, trying to get those jobs, because there's no work that pays higher than that. There is, but it's hard to get. You have to have an education or something, and when you have the education, then you can move into these higher paying jobs. But you have to go through all this schooling and everything and pay big money for that. And even when you get a job over here, a doctor makes about $2,000 a month. A lawyer, about $1,700 a month. Now, compared to the U.S., that's nothing. That's the difference. People don't get the difference of pay in Western countries and pay in Asia. Totally different scenario. The dollar over here goes way further, like for housing. Money goes way further over here. And like I said, rents for properties over here, they're decent. And people live a different lifestyle. It's not the same as the U.S. where we have to have everything, and the government gives us pretty much enough money to get everything, even if we're poor. And in some cases, you see people that are poor living better than the people that are working in the States. Well, over here, you'll never see that. But the kids over here, it's not a good place to bring up kids here. In some ways it is, some ways it's not. Okay? As far as values, the values here are different than the States. I can't say the values are really better. The people are friendlier, they're more loving. That's a good thing. And that'll rub off on some of these children. But there are parts of the Philippine culture that are different that people don't like also. And in the United States, there's a lot of that. It's kind of like give and take. What are you looking for? So what I say is this: make sure you come here and you take a good look at everything. The education system over here, work, logistics. Because if your kid ever wants to go back to the States and wants to go to college back there, are you going to be able to afford for them to go to college back there versus in the Philippines? Maybe not. Maybe not. These are the problems of bringing kids over here. If those kids want to go back, They can't just jump on a plane and hop off the plane unless you got relatives that are willing to take them in or whatever for a while till they get their feet on the ground back in the States. These are the problems that you're going to have. I know people that bring their kids over here and it works out fine. I know some people down in Mindanao that had some kids, and they make it work. And I think they start their own businesses or what have you. If you got a business and you can start a business over here and you know it's a family-run business with your wife or whatever, and the kids can help run that business, then yeah, by all means, make it work. As long as they're making decent money and they're going to have a good, healthy life. And make sure that they have room to be prosperous too. A lot of people over here, they don't have any way to become prosperous in the Philippines. Whereas in the United States, you have many, many different ways where you can prosper if you're a hard worker. Here, it's very difficult to become prosperous in the Philippines. It's not like in the States. The opportunities aren't there. So if you're thinking about bringing a kid here, think about the education. Think about prosperity, think about logistics, about going back home, about finances. Are you going to be able to afford to have a kid that's going to be going back between the US or Australia or the UK maybe quite often to see their relatives or what have you? These are all logistical issues. And also, what happens when they get older and they want to go home? Are you going to have the money to get them kick-started and have them be able to rent an apartment and have time to get a job wherever they may go back to? Are they going to accept the education back in your home country? Will it work there? You know, if you're sending your kid over here for nursing or something like that, no problems. You send them to become a doctor, no problem. You know, they'll be able to get a job here and do fairly well. You know, I mean, a nurse, probably not so much, but a doctor, yes. But a nurse, you send them off someplace overseas or whatever, they're gonna make good money and you don't have to worry about it too much. So it's about choices also. There's a lot to think about having kids here. It's not that easy. Trust me, there's a lot of different things you have to think about. And some of these kids are gonna pick up bad habits. They're gonna see things that most children don't see. Poverty, they're gonna learn, the kids over here are different in that they hide things from their parents a little bit more than kids in the United States. I just not, for me, I love the people here. I love the kids here. I think it's a great country, but you really got to weigh things out. For some, I think the Philippines is a great place to be, and for your kids. For others, not so much. It's a choice. It's a choice that has to be left on you. Ultimately, you have to be the one that thinks it all out and make that decision. And each place is different. And this is another thing. If you're living up in Manila and you're living in a wealthy section, and you're wealthy and you have money, you can send your kids to the best schools and it'll equal or better an American education. Okay, equal or better. And you're living in a place where they'll probably be around educated people. They'll get to see educated people, be around a better grade of people in the wealthier sections and middle class sections. You know, if you're living in a poverty prone section, you're going to be dealing with different issues, bigger different issues. And make sure you understand that too, because a lot of people think, well, they're just poor, they just don't have money. No, there's bigger issues. There's a lot more crime. There's a lot more illnesses, sicknesses that your kid's going to be coming in contact with. These are all the things you have to weigh out ultimately. So be careful, guys. You know, I don't want to see people come over here with kids and then they don't have enough money to go back or whatever. So they have to kind of hack it out here and make it work here. It's not a good place to bring kids if you don't know what you're walking into. Don't just come over here and walk into the situation and say, well, I'm going to make it work, because maybe it won't. Come over here with your kids, with your wife. See how it works out. See what you think. See if you can make it work. Talk to people. Talk to other expats online or over here. If you can find somebody that has kids over here, there's plenty of people over here that have kids, but you have to find them. And remember, guys, always think safety. That's the key. You know, it's your kids. Think about the safety of your kids. If you're living in some areas, they used to have problems where they used to kidnap kids. You don't want to live in those areas. Mindanao was one of those areas. But there's many others. You want to live in a gated community. You want to make sure you watch your kids when they're going to school. Make sure that when you're there to pick them up, when it comes time for them to get out of school, don't let your kids be alone, ever, ever, ever. That's just a big safety issue. Because you never know. Things happen. Things happen in the United States and in Western countries. But over here, remember, people are poor. They're looking for money. And you know what? You could be a target. So be careful. Watch your kids. Things like that. There's all types of things that can come up. Think ahead. God bless, guys. Take care.